A monopolist is, as we have seen before, called a price maker. What that means is that a monopolist has the ability to charge a price. We've also seen that this doesn't mean that a monopolist can charge any price it fancies. There are certain principles which guide the highest price a monopolist can charge, and it is usually given as a function of elasticity. In the simple case, the monopolist charges one price from the entire market, and then we can determine the monopoly profits. However, as we will develop in this video the idea of price discrimination, we will see that it is in a monopoly's interest if it can segment its market. That way it can realize higher profits. To motivate this discussion, consider a simple case where we have a monopolist price and market schedule. So this is like a demand curve in the market. And as the monopolist is the only player in the market, this demand curve is also the monopolist demand curve. So if the monopolist charges a price of 10, let's say we have only one buyer buying this good. As price drops to 9, we have one more enter, and so forth. And when price is 1, we have 10 buyers buying that commodity. And we'll also assume that the marginal cost of production is $2. Plotting this demand schedule, we get the following demand curve, where, as we can see, when price is $10, only 1 unit is bought, and as price drops all the way to $1, we have demand increasing all the way to 10, so we have 10 units being bought. Expressing this idea algebraically, we get the following equation, where the demand curve or price as a function of quantity is given by 11 minus x. So we can see when price is 1, we have 10 units being when demanded, and when price is 10, we have only 1 unit being demanded. Now, the marginal revenue is essentially given by the same intercept, which will be 11, but will be twice as steep. So we can write the marginal revenue curve, MRX, as 11 minus 2x. So as we know, any firm maximizes profits when MR equals MC. So we need to solve for this condition and determine what the profit maximizing output is. And consider MC equals $3. So using the profit maximizing condition, what we get is 11 minus 2x should equal 3, which implies 2x should equal 11 minus 3, which is 8, or x should be 8 over 2, which is 4. So the profit maximizing output for this monopoly should be x equals 4 units, and we can plug this in our demand curve to get the optimal price should be 11 minus 4, which is $7. So the monopolist does best when it charges a price of 7 and supplies 4 units of output. Since MR equals MC at this quantity, that's the rule that we used. We get that x equals 4 and p equals 7 is the best output. However, notice that by charging a price of 7 and limiting the quantity to only 4, there are still 6 consumers who are underserved by this market. And selling to them would have also resulted in some wealth. So not selling to these 6 consumers is in a way unconsummated wealth, and a monopolist would like to somehow capture this market. Now we can think of the first 4 buyers as high value buyers, and then these buyers as low value buyers. So these buyers are still willing to buy the output but are not willing to pay a price as high as the high value buyers are. And by charging just one unique price, the monopolist fails to capture the surplus from these low value buyers. It is in the monopolist's interest to keep the high value buyers separate from low value buyers and then figure out what price to charge from the low value buyers. So what we have done here is, since we had earlier provided the product to 4 buyers, we were left with 6 other buyers who were not able to get access to the product. And as we saw that the cutoff price for the highest buyer from these 6 buyers was $6. And because the market price was at 7, we had only 4 buyers buy it. So now if the price drops to 6, we will have one more additional buyer buying it. And as price drops to 5, we will have 2 more. And then as price drops to 1, we will have a total of 6 buyers buying this. So this market is the low value segment of the overall market, which was earlier underserved. And if we denote this using a mathematical equation, we can now get price, or x, which is the demand curve as a function of x, is now given by 7 minus x. As price, as quantity is 1, the price will be 6, and as quantity is 6, the price will be 1. So this is the remnant from that earlier demand curve. And again, the MR curve is twice as steep but has the same intercept. So we can say MR is 7 minus 2x. And again, the marginal cost is still the same, it's $3. So we'll see now, if we were to somehow isolate these buyers in a separate market, what would be the profit maximizing price from this particular segment and how much should we sell? So again, the principle is the same, MR equals MC. And applying this, we want to equate 7 minus 2x to our marginal cost, which is 3. And then simplifying this, we get 2x is 7 minus 3, which is 4. Our x now is 4 over 2, which is 2. So we see that from this low value buyers, it is in the interest of the firm to provide 2 additional units to the top 2 buyers, and that it will do. So when price is 7 minus 2, which is 5. So when price is 5, we'll have 2 more buyers from this market buying this product. And these 2 buyers would not have bought it at the high price of 7. So we see that by being able to segment its market between high and low value buyers, the monopolist is now able to obtain the surplus from these low value buyers, which had not been served earlier. So in a sense, not having sold to these was unconsummated wealth, which now, by segmenting the market, the monopolist has been able to capture. So this is basically what price discrimination is. And it only works if you can segment your market between 2 kind of buyers. One group being the high value buyers and the other group being the low value buyers. So typically, the high value buyers have a less elastic demand than the low value buyers. So we would have the absolute value of elasticity for high value less than the absolute value of elasticity for low value. And from the simple pricing rule, we know that the markup for a monopolist is given by the price, let's say the price subscribed by H for the high value, minus, assuming the same marginal cost, should be equal to 1 over the absolute value of the elasticity for this group. And similarly for the low value, we should have the price that they charge from the low value, and assuming the same marginal cost, should be equal to 1 minus the elasticity of the low value buyers. So we can say that, let's say that the elasticity in the absolute value for this is 2, and for this group it is 3. So because of this, the monopolist will be charging a higher price from the first group and a lower price from the low value buyers. However, without price discriminating, the monopolist would have just captured the surplus from the high value buyers and not captured anything from the low value buyers. Also notice that for this price discrimination model to work, the key precondition is that the monopolist can segment the market. It can separate the high value from the low value buyers. If a monopolist cannot do that, then we can have the possibility of arbitrage, where the low value buyers can purchase the good at a lower price and then resell it to the high value buyers, thus undercutting the monopolist's ability to gain surplus from the high value buyers. This form of price discrimination is quite common in the industry, where firms are characterized by having some pricing power. For example, Microsoft charges a different price for Office subscription from business users than it does from home users and from students. Similarly, movie theaters offer discounts to senior citizens and to students, or have a lower ticket price during the matinee time, whereas they charge the full price during weekends. The idea is that you can separate your market between these two groups and capture the surplus from both these groups. So price discrimination is a fairly effective pricing strategy, but the key criteria again are being able to identify the groups as high value, which have a lower price elasticity of demand than the low value group, which is much more price responsive, and also being able to prevent arbitrage in which the low value buyers can somehow get the product and sell it to the high value buyers directly, thus undercutting the monopolist.